Time is not a flowing river. It is merely a mark on the crumbling wall of consciousness. A human life is a flash pressed between two infinite zeros. We vainly search for grand narratives to justify the pain of our existence. An Iranian sage who lived 1,000 years ago saw this truth without embellishment. He offered no cheap comfort, only honesty, sharp as a knife's edge. Omar Khayyam is not a figure from a history textbook, but rather a voice echoing from the void. He was not a prophet promising paradise, but a meticulous witness to the human drama. His philosophy is a direct confrontation with death and absurdity in their purest forms. It is a blend of desperate hedonism and profound intellectual loneliness. His Rubaiyat consists of quatrains that carry more existential weight than entire doctrines. We modern people are accustomed to postponing life until tomorrow. We believe in a future on credit that promises peace and completion. This illusion is the most dangerous trap the mind can fall into. Khayyam warns that the true enemy is not time, but our voluntary blindness. We close our eyes so as not to see the relentless movement of the sand. We strive for transcendence, but forget the flesh and blood that hold us here. Life happens right now, in this unadorned and unedited second. Khayyam shatters this convenient mythology of deferred happiness. He forces us to feel the sharp sting of presence in the here and now, while we are still capable of feeling. This philosophical stance demands immediate, radical action rather than theological reflection. Khayyam openly criticized passivity that borders on spiritual suicide. He believed that sleep is a rehearsal for non-existence, a dress rehearsal for absolute absence. A sage cannot afford the luxury of ignorance when the ending has already been written.
This is precisely what the famous quatrain, which serves as the epigraph to our conversation, is about. I slept, and then a sage spoke to me in a dream. There is no joy for eyes heavy with sleep. Slumberer, have you forgotten that sleep is the likeness of death? Wake up, for the time will come, and you shall sleep forever. This text is not merely poetry, it is an existential command. It demands an awakening from the collective hypnosis we call everyday life. Death is the only guarantee we have in this unreliable world. All our attempts to ignore it only diminish the meager amount of time we are allotted.
For those who appreciate quality literature, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is the essential classic for your shelf. This collection is perfect both for your personal library and as a valuable gift. Don't miss the opportunity. Order your edition now. The direct purchase link is located below the video.
Harari teaches us that humans live by stories, great fictions that bind society together. These fictions, gods, nations, economic systems, provide an illusion of order. Khayyam, living in an era dominated by rigid dogmas, saw right through these social constructs. He was a skeptic who refused to accept anyone's ready-made answers about meaning. He rejected the idea that meaning could be bought or bartered through rituals. Religious promises seemed to him just another attempt to evade reality. Khayyam understood that all these systems were created by humans to control chaos. His wisdom lay in recognizing the unknowability of ultimate truths. We create gods because we are afraid to look into the void without filters. He proposed giving up this need for external approval. True courage is living with the knowledge that perhaps no one is keeping score of your deeds. This desperate but honest approach is the foundation of his philosophy. If there are no guarantees after death, then value exists only in what is here and now. This is the only reliable asset that cannot be confiscated. Khayyam, as a true intellectual, demanded an empirical approach to life. He asserted, believe only what you can feel with your skin. Khayyam frequently used the image of clay, from which the human body is formed and into which it decays. This image is deeply Hemingway-esque, emphasizing the physical, material nature of existence. We are temporary figures molded from dust, and we will return there very soon. No titles or riches will change this inevitable fate. This metaphor of clay is a call for humility before the natural cycle. We are not special. We are part of a biological flow that ends in decomposition. Therefore, the philosopher suggests focusing on the only thing that seems true and real to him, the intensity of experiencing the moment while it still lasts. For Khayyam, true paradise is not a fictional place after death, but here on earth. Paradise is what you create when you realize its transience. Khayyam's hedonism is not a weakness, but on the contrary, an act of philosophical defiance. He drinks the cup to the dregs, acknowledging that tomorrow it will be empty.
Wine in his verses is not just alcohol, but a symbol of the fullness of life and the forgetting of useless fears. It is a way to ground oneself, to return consciousness from infinite questions to tangible warmth. He calls for simple but profound enjoyment while the body is still obedient. This is the only worthy response to the cold indifference of the cosmos. Hedonism is a weapon against the terror of non-existence. It is a direct confrontation with the end. He offers this path as an alternative to empty worship and futile waiting. Khayyam bets on life, on its intensity and flavor, rather than its duration. It is a courageous position that demands honesty with oneself. Khayyam's wisdom lies in acknowledging the fundamental loneliness of a human being in the universe. He understood that we die alone, regardless of social ties. This loneliness is not a curse, but a necessary condition for philosophical insight. Only in solitude can one discard all imposed fictions. His thoughts often revolve around the futility of human pride and ambition. We build empires that crumble into dust within a few generations. We argue about eternal truths that no one knows and no one will ever know. Khayyam easily dismisses this intellectual bustle as superfluous. He professes a philosophy of small scales, where specific friendship and fleeting joy hold value. His heroes are those who understand their time limit and live accordingly. They do not seek power over others, only power over their own moment. This is the heroism of everyday choice that Hemingway wrote about.
Khayyam suggests we replace grand, unattainable goals with real, tangible tasks. We should focus on creating beauty within our own circle. Wisdom is knowing what you do not know and the ability to live without needing answers. This position requires great inner strength and the rejection of illusions. His philosophy is a constant reminder of our place under the sun. We are not the center of the universe. We are merely guests for a moment who can enjoy the scenery. Khayyam calls for the acceptance of this transience as a fundamental truth. This liberates us from fear and allows us to begin living.
The wisdom of Omar Khayyam does not age because human fears remain unchanged. Today, in a world of big data and constant information, we are still searching for what we cannot find. We try to fill the void with technology rather than an awareness of our own finitude. His voice is a clear bell that pierces through this digital noise. He invites us to choose awareness over faith and reality over promises. This is a philosophy for those strong enough to look at the void without panic. Khayyam left us a legacy not of an idealist, but of a pragmatist of existence. He makes us weigh each of our days like a precious metal. Omar Khayyam demands that we live not as sleepy puppets, but as fully present beings. Our struggle for meaning will end in dust, but for now, the battle continues. Wake up, he tells us, for the time to awaken is passing very quickly. And this eternal truth is the most precious gift we can receive.
Omar Khayyam was not merely a poet. He was one of the greatest mathematicians and astronomers of his time. He calculated the length of the solar year with a precision that astounds even modern scientists. It is this rational mind that gives his despair such weight. He who learned to measure the movement of the stars realized a terrifying truth. The sky is not the roof of God's house, but a giant, indifferent mechanism that cares nothing for human pleas. His intellectual loneliness was a conscious choice. In a world where everyone tried to bargain for a place in paradise through fanaticism, Khayyam chose irony. He saw how people turned faith into a tool of power, and he responded with radical sincerity. He understood that if the cosmos is a mathematical void, then the only source of warmth is another human being. His calls for wine and joy are not about alcoholism. They are about seeking human connection in a cold universe.
We often fear intellectual honesty because it leaves us defenseless. Khayyam, however, suggests finding strength in this vulnerability. He tells us, yes, you are but a microscopic accident against the backdrop of eternity, but that is exactly what makes your ability to think, to love, and to taste life a true miracle. His philosophy is the triumph of a mind that could grasp its own limits without losing its sanity. It is a call for intellectual courage, not to hide behind convenient fables, not to seek someone to blame for our troubles, but to accept the rules of the game. We are sparks flying from the anvil of time. We will vanish in an instant, but while we fly, we shine. And in this brief glow, there is more meaning than in all the volumes of dogmatic disputes combined.